1 minute? Less than a minute. 1 minute. Less than a minute. If I can get the room to be quiet, 1 minute. No, not tears. Silence for David. I'm going for silence, not tears.
All right, you're on.
So, yeah, so real quick, we decided based on a small room and the fact that our guest says they have a booming loud voice that we would not set up the audio system. With that in mind, I asked that you be courteous, perhaps during the presentation, not have a lot of sidebar conversations, because you can hear in this room as long as everybody's talking at once. With that in mind, thank you for coming out tonight for the WakeLP event. We have a guest speaker, Matt Grossman from Raleigh Rum. We also have Jeff Scott here, and he is spending some days at some hearings, and he'll talk to us real briefly. And Owen Watson is here, who will be running for City Council at large with his new campaign. That's me! Yes, we have that. So we have that. Going to run through some quick administrative stuff. Sidebars. 20 March will be our next speaker event. That'll be on redistricting and fair districting, and that'll be a guest speaker from the League of Women Voters. So that should be pretty exciting. That's fairly new. 23 March, WakeLP has an outing to watch the Canes play. For those of you who don't know, the bunch of jerks is apparently playing fairly well this year. They might even end up in the playoffs. So those seats are about, what did I say about sidebar conversations? What did I just tell you? So anyway, those tickets are about $40. Since we are on the hook for them, if you're going to go, we really mean you're going to go. So let Patrick know. It should be a fun night out. Other things that we have on the calendar, 30 March, we have a charity event, the Food Bank of North Carolina, or Eastern North Carolina, and that's with the Durham Libertarian Party, Durham Orange. And finally, we have on 24 April, the Wake County Libertarian Party Convention. That will be here. That will be downstairs. That is a larger event. We expect to have 50 or 60 people even at that event. That is where you elect new officers. That includes myself. For what it's worth, I'm a big fan of competition, as all libertarians are. We like market competition. So if you would like to run for any position on the executive committee, technically don't have to let anyone know. You can just show up and throw it out there. But if you would like to talk to who is ever in that position or myself about any of the positions on the EC, please do let me know. With that in mind, I am going to introduce Jeff Scott, who was talking to the Board of Elections at a hearing today around Congressional District 9.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just say that it's been really exciting to be there with the national media. How many people are familiar with the controversy in District 9 over the election? Okay, so how many people have had a chance to watch some of the testimony? So if any of you had a chance to see the testimony today, it was very emotional. As you know, Mark Harris, Dr. Mark Harris, the pastor, is accused of massive election fraud. And his son, John Harris, is 29 years old. This is an attorney, works at the, has a position with the Eastern, I guess it's the Eastern District of North Carolina, was called unexpectedly to the stand. No one knew this was going to happen. The attorneys didn't even know about it. So as his son was talking about the advice that he gave to his father that his father did not take in regard to this con man who was out in Bladen County, who was involved in some of these shenanigans and changing votes. There was a lot of emotion in the room. Obviously, the Harrises were very distraught. But the son said, I gave my parents the best advice I could give them about this shady character, and they didn't take it. Wow. So, so it's kind of all over. You know, Harris, the Republican who won by 900 votes, can't survive this. So either the Republicans are going to throw him under the bus, or we don't actually know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm just kind of projecting, but he won't be able to survive this politically, because it's just too much damage. The best out for him is to simply say that I was professionally incompetent and I made some very bad decisions. And no one's going to vote for someone like that for Congress, given all the other negatives that he has. So we don't know how it's going to go. You know, I've been sitting there for 3 days watching this, watching the legal teams from both sides. It's very capable. It's Mark Elias from the Perkins Coie law firm, which if you go to WikiLeaks and look up Perkins Coie and look up some of the things that they're doing with regard to the DNC and their lawsuits against the DNC, you will set your hair on fire. So they're a very interesting firm. And then Friedman is running is working for Dr. Harris. And they're both very capable. I have standing. I'm sitting there. I don't really have legal counsel, so I'm not participating in the debates. But there are other races that are also affected by this. So, first of all, do you have any questions about the hearings specifically? Because, like I said, Brad,
is there going to be another election?
So they've got two choices. They can either certify. They can certify the election, but you need at least 3 people to certify it. There's 2 Republicans on the board and there's 3 Democrats. This is a newly constituted board. We won't go into the history of the boards right now, but they need 3 people to certify it. If a Democrat says, yeah, I don't think Mark Harris did anything bad, they'll certify Harris and he will be seated, but then the House itself might not seat him. So there's been a representative from the U.S. House of Representatives, at least on the first day, saying that we're going to decide whether we seat this guy or not.
If he's certified.
So option B is to call for a new election, but they need 4 votes to do that. So there are 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. They need 1 Republican to defect and say Harris can't win. We're gonna cut our losses. So if they get him on the stand and they eviscerate him even more, trap him in lies, confront him with things that he said in public that weren't really true in private, then they're gonna eviscerate him. In which case I think he will lose his stature very, very quickly. So I think it would be, if I were an NC GOP strategist, I would be saying, let's just kind of end it now and do what we can and have a re-election, which means a re-primary, and Harris might just fade into the background, in which case I would have to run against someone completely different. It's entirely possible, and I hope, for God's sake, I don't have to run against his son. Oh my God, he's a smart guy, and he was very sympathetic on that. I think I tweeted out, I just hope I don't have to run against this guy in the general election. So are there any other questions, Phil?
Yeah, he gave a structure there that leaves a gap in the middle. So if they have 3 that go one way, but they don't have 4 that goes the other way, what do they do?
Well, that's what everybody, that's the $64 gazillion question. No one knows. We're really at an impasse. So if they are deadlocked, if they can't decide, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen if they can't decide. They have to do something, A or B. They either have to certify, or I'm sorry.
It's kicked to the courts.
Next week at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it was supposed to go for 3 days, but we know it's going to go through Thursday, and we know it's going to go to Friday to at least noon. So I'm going to be dressed in casual Friday. And it may even go beyond that, but there were originally 80 witnesses called, and they've been winnowing those down, and some of the testimony. But so remember that this was a protest by the state board against the election, right? And so the state board and the staff of the election staff compiled all the evidence. They're making the presentation. They are pulling all the witnesses in. they're making a presentation to the board, then the attorneys and I, if I wanted to, could be asking questions to them. So it's their sort of internal protest. It's not like, the McCready campaign is suing the other campaign. So we don't know where this is going to go. All, as far as I can tell, uncharted territory, unless you all know something that I don't know about Carolina politics very much. Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
follow-up question. If it turns out that
The Harris
the
Pastor.
Harris campaign is deemed guilty of something,
Yeah.
would you stand a chance of suing them for the campaign costs that you've incurred that were a complete waste because of it?
Well, in order for me to get my $2,000 back, let's see. I have to think through that a little bit. Yeah, not a lot of, I don't have a lot of skin in the game in that regard. I don't have, so McCready, his campaign spending was close to 12 million. So the 6 million he put in plus another 6 million in dark money means that he spent about $77 a vote. Okay, and so that's good money for workers who are doing get out the vote campaigns. So one of the things that I said about McCready Dallas, this scoundrel in this episode, is he's a very charismatic guy. He's very empathetic. A lot of the people who were appearing as witnesses were saying that I was living there when I had my 2 kids, his daughter-in-law, and people really like him, and he's really a con man. He's persuasive con man, and what I say is that his special brand of political alchemy is turning desperation into dollars, and I think Mark Harris got trapped up in that. So Mark Harris is going to have to pay the price, and I like Mark because he and I have a little bit more compatibility than McCready and I. And he was nice to me on the campaign trail. His wife is a lovely woman, and he's got a great kid. So I had a little bit of a bond with him on the campaign trail the few times I met him. So and I don't like the Democrat. The Democrat's just a sneeze back. He's a rich kid. He won't appear in public, and he's got a very fragile ego. He won't sit in the hot seat. So I'm equipped to run the campaign. So the great part is that there might be, let me wrap this up according to David, that we're going to have 2 special elections this year. We're going to have District 3, Congressional District 3, and we're going to have Congressional District 9. So we're going to have 2 libertarians. I can't say who. I'm sworn to secrecy. But we're going to have 2 campaigns, special elections in 2019. That's my guess. And so that's going to be very exciting. If anybody wants to come work on those campaigns, if anybody wants to help do calls, do canvassing, do fundraising, just talk to me.
All right. So we just heard Congressional District 9 and everything that's gone on can drive you to drink. Fortunately, our guest speaker can help with that a little bit. I visited the distillery. We've got some great products there. And there's even a Reaper rum that if you want to cook with, it'll spice some stuff up. So on that note, Matt, I have some other good news, but I know that Matt is gone.
All right, thanks for having me. If anybody has a hard time hearing me, jump in, let me know. I'll try to speak up a little more. But
More rum!
Hey, yeah, more rum. All right. Yes, just a little bit about me. My name is Matt. There's 3 of us that started Raleigh Rum Company. So we actually went to high school together in the area. That's how we know each other. We went to Apex High. Okay, yeah. So basically, we're big fans of all the craft beer that was in the area. This was we had the idea for the company in January 2014. So we're big fans of all the craft beer that was in the area. Looked over the liquor shelf, saw nothing but big name brands. Figured, hey, maybe we could give this a shot. So literally, at this point, we did not have any background in distillation. Minor hurdle, So we actually had background in home brewing beer. But Chris was one of the other founders, was a big rum aficionado, had been looking into how to make rum. And we decided, let's give this a shot, see if we can do it. So literally, that's when we started, we did all the research we could and everything. But in the United States, it's not legal to home distill, so you cannot do a test batch. So we couldn't go out and, see if we could make a rum that was worth drinking, really, before we could jump into it. So really, we kind of had to jump into it blind. So that was a minor hurdle, but we did a Kickstarter campaign to help get started. So that was number one, to prove to us that there were enough people that were willing to support a craft distillery in the area. And then so then we went forward with that. So the kind of process of getting going. To get those federal permits, which you need to actually make a run, do your first distilling run, once you have all those permits and everything. So you have to have the space first, and then you have to have your equipment, and then you can apply, then you can actually submit the application. And the application takes, 8 months or so for someone to look at and go through it. So really, you kind of have to, again, we're jumping into this kind of blind, going in there. So you get the space, you sign the lease, you move in, you start paying rent, you get your equipment set up, and then you just kind of sit there for 8 months while you're waiting. So we got through the federal permit period, and then the state permits were pretty easy. And you can't get the state permits until you have federal permits. So finally, January 2015 rolls around. We finally got through the permits and everything, and now we could actually. So obviously during that time we're researching everything we can. We're talking to other distillers, everything. So now January 2015 rolls around, we can make our first batch of rum. Our first batch of rum was pretty terrible. But obviously we worked through that. And so we launched initially with our white rum product in April of 2015 was when the first shipment went out. And so we've added on a few other products since then. That's kind of the brief introduction. We do tours every Saturday too. If you might kind of want to check out all the other products we've got, you can feel free to come out and check it out. We're over just east of the Beltline, but yeah, every Saturday we're there. So, how the system works in North Carolina. So North Carolina has an ABC system, obviously. So and when we first started, when we first launched, that was the only avenue we have to sell our product. Since they had a law passed that now allows us to sell. Well, initially it was 1 bottle per person per year that we could sell directly out of the distillery after a tour. So when we first launched, tours were always a big part of our kind of marketing. We don't have a huge marketing budget, so obviously doing tours, getting people in to check it out, try the product, see how we walk through walk through the process and how we do everything. Small batches is a big part of kind of us reaching out to everyone. But somebody would come in and try and say, hey, I'd really love to pick up a bottle. And we'd be, hopefully, there's an ABC store down the road. Hopefully they have it in stock. Hopefully that we've got it on the shelf. We got a law passed in, it was in October 2015, they'll let us do 1 bottle per person per year. So we have to take driver's license number, name, date of birth, put it in the spreadsheet to track that. And then, then that's how we could do that. It was recently, last year, or a couple of years ago with the brunch bill, that was up to 5. So now we can do 5 bottles per person per year. We still have to take all that information, put it in our spreadsheet to track that 5 per person per year. So before that, obviously, the ABC stores was the only way we could sell the product. Now we can obviously do this some directly at the distillery after tours as well. To get a product launched in North Carolina, the first step is to get it approved by the ABC board. So how the ABC system kind of works, there's a central warehouse in Raleigh, so about 4 miles away from here. So, and basically every product that's going to be sold in an ABC store anywhere in the state has to be in that. So it comes from that central warehouse. So everyone ships it into the state to the central warehouse. Every product that's approved by the state has a spot in the warehouse. And then you have to convince all the ABC boards. So there's 180 ABC boards in the state. So some of those boards obviously run 20 to 30 stores. Some of those are just single store ABC boards. So we have to convince all the ABC boards around the state to buy it, essentially, so they can order it from that central warehouse, and then the ABC system will take it out to their store. So that's how it kind of ends up we're in this store. This store is what store have we convinced to buy it. So they have to buy it up front, and then they'll sell it at their store. So we have to get the product approved and to get a spot in that central warehouse. So there's only so many spots in that warehouse. So when we first launched, we were somewhere around an 18th distillery in the state. So when we first launched, there were not a ton of distilleries in the state. It was pretty easy. So you pitch the product to the ABC board, and then they can give you a spot in that warehouse. And for North Carolina distilleries at first, when there weren't that many, it was they didn't have a lot of restrictions on holding that spot in the warehouse. But so anytime we want to get a new product launched, we have to go pitch it to the ABC board and get a spot in that central warehouse. And now there's more and more opening. There's over 60, 70 now. So now that obviously they're starting to run out of spots, and so that's something that's starting to get turned on a little bit more. Is we have to sell enough product through the ABC system to justify having that spot in the warehouse. And so we haven't had any issues with that with any of our products so far. But that's that can limit us in terms of kind of what products we can put out there. So we mentioned earlier we got a Carolina Reaper Pepper rum. It's kind of one of the crazier products we put out there. It's super spicy, but so we'd love to keep on doing kind of crazy little more out there products. But it's tough to then move enough of that kind of product to justify having a spot, and so it kind of limits what we can do a little bit. So we can't, in terms of what we can sell at the distillery after a tour, we have to sell it for the same price as it is set for in the ABC system. We can only sell it during hours that ABC stores are open. Obviously, we can only sell products that are approved for ABC stores as well, so we can't come up with something just one-off that would sell directly out of the distillery and launch anywhere else in the ABC system. So that's kind of the broad overview of kind of how we work. So some of the kind of a big thing about distilleries is there's a lot of kind of restrictions on liquor that don't exist on other types of alcohol. So obviously, like a brewery can do a tap room. So if you are going to one of the breweries, and you can go over they're brewing over here on one side of the wall, and then they can brew it, throw it over the wall, and they can essentially operate a bar on the other side of the wall and sell it at retail prices. So what we're allowed to do on our tours is we can provide a 1/4 of 1 ounce sample of each of our products, up to 5 products. So if we had more than 5, we only have 5 products. So you can, when you come in on a tour, you can try all of our products. We can do 1/4 of 1 ounce of each of them. But if we had more than 5, you'd have to pick which 5 you wanted to try. You can do 1/4 of 1 ounce of each. So it's really tough to do kind of an event or something at the distillery because all we can provide is 1/4 of 1 ounce of up to 5 products, and we can't provide really anything else by law. So that's and so we can't sell mixed drinks, so we can't run like a proper tap room like a brewery can. So that's obviously a huge revenue stream for your breweries. That's really kind of closed off to us. So if you go into an ABC store, you can kind of look around the shelf. So a lot of times, every store is required to have a North Carolina products section. So that's generally where you'll find all the North Carolina products, which is great, except for if somebody doesn't know to go in and look for North Carolina products, they're going to go straight to the rum section, and then they're going to get whatever they were originally going in, and they're going to see that there's necessarily a local option there. That's another kind of hurdle to get more notoriety out there in terms of people being aware of our products and things like that. So working with bars, so bars have to order it through the ABC. So it's really tough for us to get kind of a relationship with bars going. We can go in and we can talk to them and ask them to pick it up, but then we can't close the sale, so they've got to order it. They got to hopefully throw it into their next ABC order. And then, we don't know that they've picked it up until we come back in and you see it on the shelf or not. So we can't do any kind of direct distribution. For some reason, North Carolina has a law that won't let us direct distribute to other states either, like in terms of direct to consumers. So a lot of times somebody will have lived in North Carolina will have bought our product. So we only distribute in North Carolina currently. So people will have liked our product and then they'll move to another state and they'll ask us, hey, how can we get your product? Right now they can't. So we are not allowed to ship directly to other states. So North Carolina, obviously, it's an ABC system, and the ABC is the only way to get it. But even states that are not ABC states that are wide open, we can't ship directly to the consumer there. So we've got to go through a kind of a distribute. Every state's got its own different laws for it. So we kind of have to work with a distributor there to kind of work through that. But that's what we're only in North Carolina at this point. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question? Sure. I noticed that there's some things you can get in, like the ABC stores in Charlotte, for example, will only carry the North Carolina gins, but they won't carry South Carolina gins. They won't.
So it's possible the South Carolina gin isn't distributing in North Carolina. So so it may be that company doesn't distribute.
My question is about whether there's a rival or not, whether ABC it's also got a little bit of a local protections thing going on. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So so if you're a big Bacardi, big out-of-state brand, and you want to launch a new product and sell it in North Carolina, obviously they have to get that approved by the ABC Commission. So anything that's going to be sold in North Carolina has to get approved by that ABC Commission and get a spot in the central warehouse. And so, like, if you're a big Bacardi and you want to throw a new kind of brand out there, you want to sell it in North Carolina, you got to get it approved and get that spot in the warehouse. And it's possible they may say, okay, we don't think this is going to sell well enough, and we don't have space, so we're not going to approve it. So it's possible things like that happen, and a distillery may want to distribute to North Carolina, but it's not approved. It's possible things like that can happen. I'm not too experienced with that, but that's a possibility where it's not approved by the ABC. They don't have space for it, or they don't approve it.
Well, I'm just wondering if their approvals are somehow motivated by any kind of parochialism. That's what I'm.
Yeah, that part I can't comment on too much because I really don't know that part. But so we haven't had too many issues yet. Even when every time we've presented a product, it's been approved so far. So yeah.
Quick question. Do you have a list of which ABC stores are currently carrying your products?
Yeah. So that's actually not super. So the question was if we have a list of ABC stores that carry our product, and that's not super easy to get. So we ship our pallet to the central ABC warehouse, and then around state ABC boards around the state can order it, and they'll send it out to the ABC board. From there, the board may send it to certain stores within. So, like, if I want to know what stores in Wake County have my product, I have to go over to the Wake County board and basically pester somebody, and then they have to look it up in the computer and then type it. So if we want to know that around the whole state, we'd have to go call each board individually. We've seen who's ordered it, find out what stores they've got it. So that's a kind of a big task just to know that. And then it can be changing all the time. So that's a big task.
If somebody in Virginia said, "Hey, I've tried your product, I wanted to try and get a hold of it," you can at least say, "Well, this is the closest ABC store to you. You can drive 25 miles to get to it."
Yes.
So it seems like the whole ABC system is definitely like a huge need for y'all. Is there any benefit to it, or do you think we'd be better off just getting rid of it completely?
I mean, there are benefits to
Repeat the question,
us. The question was, are there any benefits to the ABC system, or are we all better off completely getting rid of it? I mean, so for us, it's like, really, there's two sides of the coin to it. There's one place that we have to ship it to. It makes it a little simpler for us. But again, it's not. I mean, it's either working with them or working with another distributor. And again, I mean, there are issues where, working with a bar directly. So we're not allowed to technically promote our product at a bar. So we are not allowed to promote. We can't directly promote for a bar. Well, okay, so that hurts us that we can't directly promote the bar carrying our product. But realistically, the big guys would be spending a lot more money doing that than we can. So it's like it's a little bit of a handicap to us. It's probably a little more of a handicap to those guys. I mean, I'm kind of like there's 50-50 to me. I mean, we're going to try to work around whatever system there is. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely handicaps to what we're trying to do.
You had a question, I'll let you do it.
So you mentioned there were 180 different boards, ABC boards in the state. Obviously, that's more than one per county. Some counties must be split. The process for getting them to individually decide to take your product, you need to, somebody from your team needs to physically go there and do a presentation?
So we can call and we can try, like, so some of them are super receptive. I mean, some of them have just picked this up without us even ever actually reaching out to them. So some of them, I mean, actually they're all run by different people with different priorities and everything else. So, I mean, some of them are super receptive. Some of them we can call and they'll pick it up. Some of them we can go to. We could be, you know, we knock on their door or whatever, and they're not going to pick this up. It really just kind of varies based on the board. So,
what's your sense of the 180? What's your penetration, do you think?
so we're in about 70 out of 180. So obviously what you can notice is there's more than one per county. So some of them obviously, some of them are single store boards. They're kind of in smaller towns. We're not in a lot of those. We're in a lot of the bigger ones in the state. Actually, you know, for us, the triangle is a much bigger, better area for us.
So if there was like one part of the whole system that you can change that would really sort of open up the market for you guys, what would it be? Like, obviously, like there's a lot of things that could be different.
Yeah, so the one biggest change that, you know, we would see is honestly doing like a tap room. It's like, obviously that's probably the, like, I've talked to, so we'll partner up when we use our used barrels. So after we've aged rum in our barrels, we'll work with breweries and we'll send them to breweries and they'll age beer in our used barrels. So I'm talking to the brewery guys, and a lot of them will tell me, you know, well over half of their revenue comes from their tap room on site. That's like, and their you know, that's where their margin is. That's where their business really is. So they can distribute it to other. They can, you know, they can direct distribute to bars too. So that's a, you know, that's something they can do that we can't do. But even that, like, their margin is at their tap room. And so obviously we can't do that. So really, that's kind of the biggest thing for me. That would make a really big difference to our business. Yeah.
So I know there was legislation up for debate on the beer cap. I think the organization I work with worked at that a little bit. Is there anything else that you know of on liquor sales?
So, yes. Yeah, well, so right now I'm not too sure. So I know the NC Distillers Association kind of works with, you know, the lobbyists, and they kind of set. So they're, you know, they're really push getting that, even the 1 per person per year law, and then the 5 per person per year law. And so, like, you know, I know they're definitely talking about kind of what they want on their agenda. You actually.
So there's a bill that's in draft form right now in front of the legislature that is like jointly sponsored between the Distillers, the Retail Association, and the Chamber of Commerce. It just came out like less than 2 weeks ago on a Monday, so you can go and read that legislation. It addresses some of these issues, and I think a lot of it is like they're asking for a lot, and then they're kind of expecting it, anything to kind of get off back down. A lot of it is like completely privatizing the ABC system, but I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely has been noise about privatization lately. Yeah, so.
Sorry, that.
No, you're good. No, definitely had some stuff to add there.
So 2 questions is, so if I were a distiller, is there a union or association that's joined that represents the values?
Yeah, there's an association. So the NC Distillers Association is a
Do they
group.
have lobbying?
Yeah, well, so they employ a lobbyist. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, so there's one lobbyist that does work with the Distillers Association, and again, that's, you know, that's really kind of headed up by Scott Maitland over at Top of the Hill Distillery. He's, you know, really the one that's kind of like has worked with them mostly. But yeah, I mean, that's really where a lot of the change so far that has happened, you know, the baby steps that have happened.
But say if I was like a party or something, or like a big, you know, company, how would I lobby for this?
You know, I don't think Bacardi necessarily cares about it, you know, about what, you know, so they obviously don't care about having a tap room here. They don't have any presence here. They're selling through the ABC stores, and they're doing pretty well. And, you know, so they're not necessarily caring about the direct sales at our distillery or anything like that, because they're not here. So, yeah.
I know you said you can't market in bars, but can you market?
We can market in bars. So we can come in and we can go to a bar that has our product and we can essentially buy, shots for people or whatever at the bar. Like, it's pretty expensive really quick. What we can't do is, like, we couldn't go put out something that says, go to this bar, they have our stuff. So we can't do that. But yeah.
But it's my understanding that if you are a bar owner, the state assigns you an ABC that happens to be closest to your location. Can you go to bars and say, hey, I'd like you to carry my stuff. Can you lobby your ABC on our behalf?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's definitely an app. So he's asking if for bars, that's definitely an avenue we can go to get picked up by a board. If we can't get picked up by a board, a lot of times we can say, hey, this bar wants to order us, and then they might pick us up. So that's actually an avenue that we can use to get picked up by a board, by an ABC board. But a lot of the times, it's kind of a chicken or egg issue. The bar, we go in the bar, says I can't get it, and then they can only get it once it's in the ABC, but the ABC won't pick it up until the bar wants it, and it's just kind of, it's kind of a chicken or egg.
Is there a minimum order to
no, I don't think there's well, I mean, they may have a minimum order for their order in total, but not for all specific product. They can pick up a product they want.
So you can't promote where to get it at a bar, but you can list where people can go to bars.
So basically, what the extent of it, when I was talking to the ABC director, is he essentially said we can say, you can find me, you can find us here. And that was like, we have to leave it right there. And that's like, we're towing up to the line where we can go. So we can say, yes, I'm at this place, but we can't like actively promote that place or anything like that. So yeah. Yes, we have that one over here.
So you said that there's a limit to the number of bottles of rum that you can sell to a person. Can you sell rum adjacent products like rum cake or something like that?
So that's a good question. We probably would have to get into like food. So at that point, so right now we don't have to deal with the FDA or anything like that. We only deal with the TTB. And really the TTB honestly only cares about their taxes just about. I mean, that's basically the biggest thing that the TTB cares about. We're not dealing with the FDA or like food inspections or anything like that. If we were to sell rum cakes, I don't know, we might have to get into all of that. That's kind of a headache that's probably not worth it for us.
Just partner with a local bakery.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's probably the better route for that, yeah. Was there another question over here?
Are you allowed to do that, like as far as, because I've lived here a long time, but I'm from Miami, so the whole ABC was her thing. I always feel like they go to high school cafeteria lunch or and so like, can you do something like that? Can you put your rum into a product and then sell it that way? Or do you have to get special permission from whoever gives you licenses for using it as an alcohol to use it in some cutesy bakery or like?
So yeah, if it wouldn't be up to us to get any approval of like, so questions about if working with bakeries that would use our product. So, I mean, the bakery would have to, so they would buy it from the ABC. And they would use it. So I can't really technically give them a bottle.
Can you like, say there's a place in North Hills, ABC's incredible little desserts and things like that. Can you go to those places and say, hey, we sell this rum at ABC?
Yeah.
Maybe you'd like to make it rum cake.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can go pitch to bars or bakeries or anything like that and say, please buy it. We can't directly sell it to them. We can't give it to them. We can't. So like, but we can absolutely go pitch any bar and say, please order it. We just can't actually sell it.
You won't be able to market it either, would you?
What's that?
You won't be able to say, hey, we got our rum in this.
Yeah, and then I can't push. Yeah, exactly. I can say you can find me here, but that's
Does that include social media? Like, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can say on social media, I can say you can find me here, but I can't say go to this for this event or go to we're gonna be all right.
Where exactly is that line?
That line is you can find me here, and that's like above that feeling is technically over the line.
What are the fees for using ABC? Having them distributed to their own stores. What do they charge?
So the ABC markup includes the excise. So in North Carolina, there's excise tax of 30% of the sales price. So obviously, when you go into the ABC store, you pay the price. In that, 30% of that price comes out and goes to the state excise tax. Above that, the ABC board markup is about another 30%. There's a few like bailment charges, bottle charges, overall, so including that
sales tax.
yeah, and well, yeah, and the 7% sales tax on top of that after that. But so overall, the markup from where we send it to the ABC and what they charge for prices, that's about 190%. So we get a little over half of what the sales price in the ABC store.
Can I give you one pricing example from a couple years ago? So in California, at a Trader Joe's, retail level, Campari, the Italian red liqueur, is $19.99. Go to an ABC store, it's $33. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so you'll definitely, so if you go to Charlotte or something, you'll see people driving across the state line to go buy their liquor. So, I mean, there's definitely, different states all handle it differently. And so, the tax may would be a little lower there. But yeah.
California is a high tax state on almost everything, but, there you go. 1990.
So, like, federally, do you guys have any basis on this federally? Because, you're really questioning interstate commerce, like, to the point. Because, like, if someone is in the state, or even an international distributor of liquors or they would be able to sell it and direct ship it to people. I can buy on the internet other states.
Yeah, well, so North Carolina you can't. So North Carolina has a law against other states direct shipping to here as well. So North Carolina, you were like that. We actually, so for a while there, we were working with a distributor in DC. So we could ship it to the distributor in DC, and then DC could direct ship to 30 states that allow. North Carolina is not one of those states. So we actually got in trouble because the distributor was not supposed to be shipping to North Carolina, but they did. And they caught them doing it, and they wanted to hold us accountable for the distributor doing it. So that was actually a little hiccup. But yeah, so it's clearly the feds are okay with that because there are 20 states that don't allow direct shipping of liquor to that. So.
Yeah, great. Sorry, this might be a string of questions. How much does the state cap you at that you can make annually?
So there's no state cap that I'm aware of. So there's a cap under which, so if we go over a certain cap, then we can't do this direct bottle sale anymore. But that cap is a lot higher than anything we're really doing. So it's really not an issue at all. But if you were to go over a certain per gallon production goal target level, then we couldn't do the direct sale.
So how much do you make in a batch? How many batches do you make in a year? How long does it rest? Sorry, I'm more involved in the process.
Sure. So we get into all that in sort of detail, but yeah. So in terms of how much do we make in a batch? So our stills are 53 gallons size, the kettle. So essentially, you make a fermented molasses wine is the first step. It's about 15% alcohol. We distill that out. So where we put the molasses wine into is about 53 gallons. We'll distill out and get 5-ish gallons of a higher proof alcohol. So we got to do a lot of batches. I mean, we're doing it in super small batches. In order, to fill up a pallet, we ship a pallet, we do 480 bottles in a pallet. It's roughly 10-ish batches. If you get enough rum to fill up and do a bottling run, we get that pallet filled and get it out. Yeah.
What do you guys do with that? I know it's not a thing again, but what do you guys do with that excess? That's a broad question.
Yeah, so like the molasses, essentially the molasses wine that we've now extracted all the alcohol out. We worked with some guys over at NC State to see if there was any like nutritional value left. So you can find it, where they can maybe send it to a farm or something they can use as feed. There's really not a lot of nutritional, but it was basically it's essentially just molasses wine stripped out of alcohol. It's just
Did you guys just have like crazy good pancake breakfast?
Yeah, it's just like so. Just the same way that batch of beer would be discarded. Leftover fermentation. What's left?
In terms of like, obviously you guys are pretty small, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of like increasing your distribution point, do you find it most effective? Is it lobbying the ABC stores? Is it lobbying the boards? Is it, I can see how like going to bars maybe not be the best like
Yeah,
use of your time.
so the question about like how we can best expand our distribution, and it's up to the ABC store general managers. So like if I go into a random Wake County store and say, so it can help, they might go up, like if a customer goes into a single store in Wake County and says, hey, I'd like to see this product, I mean, that store owner or the store manager doesn't really have the power to order. It's really the general manager. There's one general manager, and he kind of decides what's in what store pretty much everywhere on the board. So that's kind of how it works, at least in the area. So it's definitely getting that time with the general managers of the ABC. They don't want to carry something that's not going to sell, but obviously we can't sell it unless it's there. So again, it's that kind of chicken or egg issue. So like when we first launched, we get the new products out. They'll test it in the store or two, and then if it sells well there, they'll put it in a few more stores in there. So it's really kind of just keeping that ball rolling.
And are you allowed to direct market to people who say on your email, like, hey, call up this general manager?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we tell people, when they come to the store every week, we're like, yeah, if you don't see it in your store, please go ask for it. You don't see it, behind the bar, you're looking for it, please ask for it. It can't hurt. Yeah, it's really kind of generally just kind of. Yeah.
So what about direct marketing to consumers?
Excuse me, is there salmon here?
No, we kind of party.
No, just looking
I'm
for.
about the other side.
So do you guys direct market to consumers? Like Tito's and Big Vodka, I did their hot flash festival.
Okay, yeah.
Like we just gave out shots every single festival.
That's probably not legal. That's definitely not legal.
You just admitted to a felony.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean,
So it was worth it.
so yeah, I mean, so definitely, the enforcement can be like it's super hard to understand the laws at times, and then it can be enforced in some places very strongly, and sometimes not. But yeah, it's definitely so. We have now a tasting. So we have a tasting permit that allows us to do 1/4 of 1 ounce of each of our products up to 5. So we can do the same sample. So they have instituted the tasting permit back around the same time as the brunch bill, which basically allows us to do that same sampling that we do at our tour outside of the distillery.
Yeah, we did it at Hopscotch at like downtown Raleigh.
Yeah, so, but I don't know how, so I think that's.
Fireball, Tito's, and Jack Daniels.
Yeah, so if it was, so they're allowed to do maybe 1/4 ounce.
We get a whole lot.
So, yeah, so that's not technically legal, but, I'm not gonna say it didn't happen, so, yeah.
Has any of the excuses been we ran out of room because the ABC had an empty warehouse for 7 years?
Yeah. So that was definitely, so when they first kind of threw that, so there's been rumors of them enforcing that you must sell certain X level to justify having that spot in the warehouse. They've been talking about it since we very first started. And then it kind of died down and we talked about it. And then probably 6 months ago, it was ish, they brought it back out again. And that was kind of the exact same argument that a lot of the distillers used. There was just an audit about having this empty warehouse or how you played. So that since kind of died back down. I haven't heard anything back about it since, but I mean, it's always out there. It's technically the rule that we've got to sell these X amount of the product to keep that profit.
$5,000.
Well, it's $5,000 worth of ABC board profit. So not $5,000 worth of sales. It's $5,000 worth of ABC board profit.
So I know you had said, I know you had said that you can't bars or whatever, but I know that I've seen bars that have more parties.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So we can come in. So we can partner with the bar to have a Raleigh Rum party.
Okay.
We just couldn't announce that party.
Oh.
We couldn't drive people to come to the party, but the bar could. The bar absolutely could. And so we could show up there and buy people drinks from the bar.
What's there to prevent all your friends from telling everybody and promoting?
Nothing. I mean, that'd be great. So everybody,
right, everybody.
One's coming from us as the company, and one's coming from just people. So just people can do that. We can't. So yeah.
I'm not understanding the warehouse thing. Are you saying that they were involved in some kind of inventory manipulation, that they were setting aside
No, well, so
space so that they?
no, so there's two warehouses. So there's the one central one in Raleigh, and then there's like an overflow warehouse in Clayton. And so essentially the ABC director was communicating out that the brands that weren't selling enough product to justify their spots in the warehouse, they might start cutting those products, and so like not giving them a spot in the warehouse anymore. The issue that everyone brought up was that there was recently an audit of the ABC board that found that overflow warehouse in Clayton was mostly sitting empty and not being used. So their justification about not having space was. Possibly, yeah. They had space.
They had the space.
In the Clayton separate warehouse.
They've been paying for 7 years up to, it was $14 million waste. Tax dollars, what happened?
So, the ABC board has, takes plenty of money to, cycle through it, but yeah. That's all it was. Brian was not, really noticing. Yeah, so, if there are no other questions, thank you guys for having me out.
Yeah, now I know like the Canes do like those local breweries thing. Would it be possible if you guys could do something with them, like you make like rum and cokes or mimosas and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. The Canes, again, they are free to order it from the ABC.
Yeah, so they have to order.
It's like we would go out, and so no, we can't work directly with them at all. In the same way they would. But they would buy from the ABC. And so yeah, there's nothing stopping that. I'm sure take a fairly good marketing investment budget.
Could you at least, if Canes didn't want to buy, and would you at least be able to say, okay, can we set up a stand so that your face, your logo is right there, so that people can say, oh, hey, Raleigh Rum, yeah, let me try some of them.
Yeah, if
and they're going through the right process.
Could we stand at the Carolina Hurricanes game and have a stand there? We could certainly stand there all day and just say, hey,
You have nothing to sample.
but we can't. Yeah, we can't. I can't give a sample. I can't sell them anything.
I'm not saying like that, but I'm saying like they buy through the ABC store, but then you could potentially say provide stands. They could stand on is that
there's certain so we can provide certain things to bars to we can give them say a sign that said tin type. We can give certain things up to certain value. I don't know exactly what those limits are because we don't do a ton of it. But there are certain limits and they're not super high about what we can provide to them. But we certainly can do things like that. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
It's been interesting for me listening to people try to figure out how government sucks and how to work around it. Half your questions was government kind of sucks. How do you work around it? With that in mind, a couple points. You like rum? It's great rum. Go on the tour and then wear the T-shirt so other people know that Raleigh Rum is out there. So please do that. Wear hats. They got all the gear. The other thing I'll point out about small business owners, having known a couple smaller local bars where the owners have had trouble with the ABC stores, it's on us. Small business owners can't stand up to whoever and fight the power. It all sounds pretty funny until you realize that this gentleman has to provide for an 18-month-old. So, being the noisemaker for some of these people is not an option. It is on us, who maybe are completely unrelated to the liquor industry, to make the most noise and to advocate for change and to do things like pester your local representative in the NCGA and say, hey, 10 bottles, hey, some advertising. So it's on us to stand up for people like Matt Grossman. So I hope you do that. I hope you come back and bring your family and have some delightful food. And as I close, the last thing, I know sometimes we need good news. Supreme Court normally doesn't do anything 9-0, it seems, and they had a 9-0 decision today, 8th Amendment. So for those of you who are sick of government confiscating your property under civil forfeiture laws, The state and local governments were told, yes, the 8th Amendment applies to them. In Tyson Timms, I believe is the number, or the name. So when you get home, Google Institute for Justice, which is a great organization behind that. So I know sometimes we get bummed out about government. We did actually go up some good ones today. So thank you all for coming out. We did end on a good note. So thanks.
Hey, I would ask everybody if you could go on to Facebook and Twitter before you leave tonight and try to go to my thingy, like it or heart it, whatever it is. It's at Olin III, at OLEN III.
That's Twitter.